Have you ever wondered why a man goes quiet at the very moment the heart leans forward? Why his eyes grow still when the world leans in with questions, and his mouth closes around words that seem to die before they're born? Silence can look like indifference from far away. But up close, underneath the armor and the breath held in his chest, it is a door, and that door guards 7 truths he rarely names. He often carries those truths like stones in a pocket, heavy, unshowy, present. Desire lives there, not as fever, but as a compass. Not as spectacle, but as a vow he still isn't sure he's worthy to make. Some women try to pry the silence open with questions. Some chase it with more volume. More explanations, more strategies. Yet the masculine psyche often speaks its clearest words in hush. A man's quiet can be a map, the terrain of boyhood imprints, the ridges of fear, the valleys of devotion, the secret forest of longing. Every silence has a temperature. Every quiet has a shape. Some are cold stone walls. Some are caves with firelight flickering at the back. Some are rivers where the words float just beneath the surface, waiting for a hand gentle enough to lift them up without breaking them. Psychologists have long known that the body keeps score when the voice stays still. Carl Jung knew that the self hides in the shadow when the persona is too tight. The hero mask is useful in a world that rewards performance. Yet every mask begins to burn the skin if worn too long. Silence becomes a refuge then, a private temple where the warrior lays down his sword and meets what he doesn't yet know how to speak. When a man grows quiet, he's often standing between 2 cities inside himself, the city of the boy who learned how to survive without needing too much, and the city of the man who longs to risk everything in order to love without bargaining. You may feel the silence and imagine rejection. The nervous system remembers other doors that did not open, texts unanswered, promises dissolved, the ghost trail that old hurts leave. But before assuming abandonment, it can help to listen for the archetypes that move under the surface. There is the hunter who withdraws to follow a trail only he can see. There is the king who retreats to consult with conscience and fate. There is the lover who trembles with hunger and shame, not wanting to stain what he hopes to cherish. There is the orphan who learned early that want is dangerous and asking is punished. And there is the trickster who disappears to avoid accountability, a pattern worth naming, a wilderness not to be romanticized. Among the things a man only admits in his silence is this: he longs to be seen without being fixed. Many learned early that the moment they opened the door to feeling, a caretaker rushed in with repair, instruction, or scold. So they learned to go still. In quiet, a man often asks, is there a gaze that can see the depth without trying to rearrange it? Carl Jung called the inner feminine, the anima, a guide to soul. Yet many men grow up relating to the outer feminine as evaluator, not as guide. If a woman judges his interior, he hides it. If she pets it, he resists the infantilization. So he goes quiet, not to punish, but to measure. Is there space here for the man he is becoming, not just the boy others knew how to correct? You are invited to meet this place with a velvet spine, soft without collapsing, strong without hardening. The feminine that awakens respect does not chase pain as if it were a pearl to be won. She sits in her own seat. She breathes. She allows the silence to reveal what it is. She does not demand it behave like a constant stream. She speaks from sovereignty. This is how connection feels safe for a body like this, and then returns to her life, her joy, her craft. She does not perform anxious heroics. When respect and ease share a room, masculine nervous systems unclench. Birds return to the field where there is no net. Another truth his silence admits: he fears inadequacy with an intensity almost unbearable. Many boys were trained to be good at things before they were taught how to be good to themselves. Performance became love's currency. Then love became expensive. A man might go quiet because inside the chest a courtroom opens. And in that courtroom an inner judge measures him against an impossible standard. Under the stoic face, a storm of not enough hits the ribs. The silence is a shield. Not because he does not care, but because he cares too much and believes he cannot win. This is where attachment styles shape the weather. Avoidant systems often freeze when pressure rises, anxious systems often surge forward. Two strategies for safety meet: one retreats, one pursues. The more one pursues, the more the other retreats. Together they build a perfect loop of misery, reverent as clockwork. In that loop, the Stoic wisdom matters: control is for the inner domain, not the other person. A man's silence sometimes says, "Give me the grace to return to virtue," not the demand to perform it. He withdraws to re-anchor in what the Stoics called character, temperance, courage, practical wisdom, justice. He wants to fix something, not to fix himself for you, but to feel himself reliable in his own eyes. He is not a project, he is a person who aches to take himself seriously again. The ego tries to avoid humiliation. The self, the deeper center Jung named, invites humility. Silence is often the bridge between the two, a narrow wooden plank over the river of pride. A man walks that plank in quiet, he does not want a chorus shouting advice while he balances. When a man's voice dims, another confession glows: love is not enough if admiration is absent. Love without respect feels like a warm blanket wrapped around a lion's cage. The masculine psyche orients to mission. Not workaholism, not numbing busyness, but the devotion to a North Star. Where respect is missing, love feels maternal, kind, soft, safe, and secretly undermining the edge he needs to face dragons. A man rarely says, "I want to be admired." Sometimes he barely allows himself to want it. But in silence, he looks for signs. Does the woman in front of him delight in who he is building, not just what he offers? Does she speak to his capacity as if it were real, not in fantasy but in sober faith? Does she treat his time as a temple, just as she treats her own? You hold the power to make respect a living atmosphere. Not with pedestal or blind praise, but with clean language, acknowledgement without worship. Effort looks good on a man, an atmosphere says. Follow-through is attractive. When a woman calibrates her standards to what she embodies, not to what she demands, a man's silence becomes intrigue, not avoidance. The hunter approaches when the woodland is quiet and the field feels worthy of his presence. This polarity is not a game. It is an old rhythm. Masculine arcs outward toward purpose, feminine spirals inward toward depth. When both rhythms are honored, a music plays that no one needs to force. Silence also draws a veil over the mother wound many men carry but rarely name. Carl Jung wrote about the mother complex, how early impressions of the maternal shape a lifetime of attractions and aversions. In a man's quiet, an old memory might be breathing: a mother who was loving but overwhelmed, a mother who was critical and precise, a mother who was saint, savior, sun, or storm. These imprints become the template he projects onto lovers. The unconscious says, "This woman will finish the story." He seeks repair through repetition. He finds a familiar temperature of chaos or coolness and tries to master it at last. Or he flees any heat that resembles old burns. He does not confess this easily. To say "I am loving the past through you" feels like treason. So he does not say it. He disappears for a time and tries to talk with the ghosts. You are not required to exorcise those ghosts for him. You are invited to refuse their assignments. When a man's silence suggests he is wrestling with old maternal weather, the wise feminine steps out of the triangle of rescuer, victim, and persecutor. She does not mother the grown man, she does not punish the boy, she does not audition for sainthood. She mirrors reality with a gentle, exact voice. This is what partnership feels like in this body: mutuality, presence, clean repair after rupture. Then she lives accordingly. The most transformative mirror is consequence delivered without cruelty. The most loving detachment is simply self-respect that doesn't evaporate under longing. There is a silence men keep for their freedom. Not to confirm detachment, but to protect autonomy. The hunter must leave camp to bring back meat. The sailor must leave the harbor to learn the sea. The rugged parts of masculinity trust the cave, the mountain, the field, the workshop. Focus is devotion. Many men cannot feel desire if they cannot feel freedom. When a woman pulls on that freedom with rules meant to soothe fear, his libido fades under the weight of should. He may not say it, it would sound ungrateful. He goes quiet to ask the question only he can answer, am I still living my life? The silence is not against the relationship. The silence is for the manhood that makes relationship possible. You are called to honor the space in a way that honors you, too. Space given out of fear breeds resentment, space given out of self-sufficiency breeds magnetism. Keep the center of gravity in your own life, a life textured with purpose, friendship, play, and rest. Masculine desire flares around a woman who does not need him to be oxygen. She already knows how to breathe. She offers invitation, not compulsion. She says, when you come back, bring your whole self, while she brings hers to her own days. This is not indifference. It is trust in reality. The feminine often becomes more radiant when she trusts the river she cannot control. Rivers return to oceans. Men return to what feels like home. Not to a prison disguised as affection. Silence also conceals the shame that swims beneath male desire. Many men were trained to be gentlemen in a way that exiled their animal. Words like restraint were taught without rites of integration. The lover inside became a stowaway, alive, hungry, guilt-trapped. He wants to be wanted, not merely tolerated. He wants to be the storm that a woman invites, not the drizzle she manages. He wants to feel her welcome in the body, not just her agreement in the mind. Yet shame says, your hunger is a hazard. So he goes quiet around desire, deflects affection, jokes instead of reaching, controls what burns rather than risk scorching the ground where a shared fire could live. Here the feminine can transform the room without betraying dignity. Desire declared from a sovereign place does not beg, it beckons. A soft gaze is permission. A clear no is gold. A clear yes is a drumbeat. Many men calm when a woman owns her appetite cleanly, the speed she wants, the touch she invites, the pauses she needs. Boundaries do not chill eroticism, inconsistency does. When the feminine honors her own body as sacred, the masculine learns how to honor it, too. The shame unwinds where it is not mocked or exploited. The lover in him grows where the lover in her is at home within her own skin. Another admission that silence hints at, he is watching to see if the void collapses you or clarifies you. Men who have lived with chaos learn to test stability without announcing the exam. A pause arrives. Someone waits. Does the waiting body break into pieces, or breathe into poetry? Does the conversation implode into accusations, or extend into boundaries? He is not testing to be cruel, he is testing because he does not yet trust his own ability to choose safety. Environments shape men. Past drama taught vigilance crafted from exhaustion. If silence detonates chaos, old lessons get reinforced, intimacy equals risk. If silence becomes a meadow where truth can land, a new lesson emerges, intimacy equals responsibility and rest. He sees which lesson is alive not by what is said, but by what is done in the silent spaces. You can let those spaces be the forge where feminine poise is tempered. Speak with the grammar of secure attachment, this is what I can do, this is what I cannot, and then follow it. Let the tone remain gentle as the boundaries stay exact. Punitive silence invites games. Sacred silence invites truth. There is a difference between withholding and resting. Between stonewalling and centering. In a world where many unconsciously manipulate, embodied clarity is erotic. It says, peace is standard here. And suddenly the man's quiet becomes a prayer, not a threat. It becomes him approaching a temple, removing his shoes at the door. Silence also carries grief. Male tears often learn to wait in the throat like birds that never learned how to take flight in daylight. Loss, disappointment, betrayal, and the old sorrow of father hunger, many carry it without ceremony. In quiet, a man sometimes kneels before a pile of little funerals no one attended. Plans that died. Friendships that faded. A role he outgrew but still misses. He will rarely say, "Hold me." He will rarely say, "I am tired." He will go still because he is terrified that if the first sob escapes, he won't stop. He wants to be powerful for those he loves. He is unsure how to be powerful and soft at once. He cannot ask for permission to fall apart. He waits to see if the relationship can hold him when power loosens its grip for an hour. You do not have to be the floodgate. You can be the shoreline. The shore does not rescue the sea, it receives it. If he cries, let the moment be simple. The feminine does not need to explain his tears to him. Your hand on his back is a sentence. Your silence in that moment is music. When it passes, it passes. When it returns, allow it. If it never comes, do not demand it as a proof of intimacy. Some grief only opens in the company of solitude. A woman's power is not in forcing access to hidden rooms, it is in being a place where rooms can be entered without threat when the time is right. Nothing ripens under surveillance. Everything ripens in the sun of non-judgment. There is also the quiet that confesses his desire to lead with integrity and be trusted without surrendering your sovereignty. A mature masculine wants to feel the weight of responsibility in his hands. Leadership is not domination, it is choreography. He wants to offer direction that considers both his world and hers. He will never say, "Trust me first and make me trustworthy second." He wants the opposite. He wants the chance to earn trust in little things, consistency, care, attention, follow through, so that big trust becomes a natural fruit. If he feels micromanaged, he will fake leadership or avoid it entirely. If he feels romanticized, he will break under the pedestal. In quiet he wonders, will she follow my lead in the dance when I have done the work to be leadable? Will she challenge me with respect when my steps falter? Will she let me rest without taking my rest as rejection? You can embody a yes that doesn't erase your no. Offer a soft body and a sharp mind. Give him the gift of your discernment, not as a critique habit but as a way of honoring the life the two of you are walking into. Trust that has been earned is a form of erotic devotion. Submission to reality is far more liberating than submission to a person. Let the truth lead. Let virtue lead. Let the two of you follow. When the dance stumbles, laugh gently and begin again. Men who love deeply are not looking for perfection in you, they are searching for coherence. Coherence is the music adults choose when childhood's chaos has been put to bed. There is a silence that says, without words, I require boundaries to respect you. When a man is unsure of a woman's limits, his desire turns timid or careless. Where the walls are invisible, people crash into each other. Insecure ambivalence, oscillating between availability and performative distance, creates a circus that turns serious men away. Silence arrives because he is listening for the edge, for the shore, for the this far that makes come closer meaningful. He will not ask, please uphold your standards. He will simply drift toward clearer harbors if the fog does not lift. You can make the harbor visible. Boundaries spoken calmly are a love letter to both of you. They make sure harm doesn't dress up as passion. They keep desire from dissolving into confusion. They protect your tenderness so that it can keep glowing without getting scorched. Men are attracted to what they can trust. Trust grows where a woman is able to keep a promise to herself even when love is near. That promise does not shut men out, it invites the right ones to knock rightly. The wrong ones go elsewhere. The right ones are grateful. In the archetypal furnace, a man's silence is a training ground. He studies two forces, impulse and responsibility. Young warriors often seek intensity to prove they are alive. Mature warriors seek meaning. People confuse the two because intensity is louder. Meaning is quieter. The Jungian path of individuation is about letting the opposites kiss, the rough and the refined. The free and the faithful, the animal and the angel. Silence is where these pairs meet. He learns to hold a sword with an open palm, to plant a garden with calloused hands. He stops chasing novelty when he realizes that his blood runs hotter in a promise kept than in a chase that ends in emptiness. You are not responsible for his becoming. You are responsible for your own. And that is the paradox that awakens true devotion. The more a woman lives in obedience to her inner truth, the call of work that matters, the art that feeds her, the friendships that ground her, the rest that cleans her eyes, the more she releases the need to decode every silence. She hears the pauses and chooses response over reaction. She holds her throne. When she speaks, it is with the authority of someone who has met her own shadow, felt the bite of her own ego, and learned the difference between a fantasy and a future. Her presence becomes uncompromising and kind. Men understand this language. Not all can meet it. The ones who can, rise. Many silences are admissions of desire for alignment rather than adrenaline. Men who have lived fast eventually want to live true. They won't say, "Choose me for my integrity." They hope the quiet reveals it. They will not rename lust as love, or drama as depth, once they are done with boyhood's rehearsals. They will seek the woman who is done performing the little girl script, seeking a father to rescue. Testing to feel real, withholding to extract proof. They will recognize the sovereign, the woman who carries her own light. She is generous without bleeding, receptive without being impressed by crumbs, erotic without being used by her hunger. You can be that woman. Not by trying to be. By becoming the center of your own life. When a man's silence arrives, let it be a mirror. If self-worth feels dependent on another's signal, the system panics. When self-worth is rooted in the self, the deep ground Carl Jung described, validation can be sweet without becoming oxygen. Being chosen becomes pleasant without becoming necessary. And paradoxically, that is when the right men begin to choose with clarity. Desire is drawn to ease. Ease is born from truth. Truth is what remains after people stop bargaining with their worth. There are silences that condemn and silences that consecrate. Trust your body to tell the difference. When silence punishes, your body shrinks, your eyes dim, your laughter dies. That is not a silence to decorate, it is a boundary to enforce and perhaps a goodbye to bless. When silence nourishes, your chest opens, your breath slows, your shoulders drop. That is a silence people can build a home inside. He is not confessing contempt in that quiet, he is confessing tenderness he does not yet have words for. He is admitting how much he hopes to do right by the love he is nearing. He is asking for the room to arrive with his integrity intact. If his silence reveals only apathy, you already know the answer. The feminine spirit wastes no years excavating a desert for water that refuses to exist. If his silence unveils depth, a steadiness that grows, a reliability that can be measured in days and deeds, then you are witnessing a man who takes life seriously. That seriousness is not oppression. It is permission to relax. It is permission to play. Secure men are playful when they trust themselves. They tease not to punish but to bring joy. They surprise not to destabilize but to bless. They disappear not to dominate but to do the errands of the soul, work, rest, repair, and then they return. That rhythm is safe. That rhythm is ancient. As individuation unfolds, projections fall away. He stops needing you to be his mother or his mirror. You stop needing him to be your father or your source. Two adults meet. The wildness remains but goes wise. Shadow work does not end, it just gets honest. You both find where you colluded with your own suffering and gently set the old contracts down. The ego stops trying to win. The self comes to the table, unhurried, with bread and patience. Love matures from spell to sacrament. In that maturity, silence becomes a common language. It says, "I trust you to take your time." It says, "Here is the pace at which my nervous system can thrive." It says, "When there is a problem, we will name it and repair it." It says, "Agreement is not required for love, respect is." It says, "Spent signals are not tests, they are sacred rests." And it says, quietly, deeply, yes. If there is a final thing his silence admits, it is this: he wants to be chosen by a woman who has already chosen herself. He will not tell you that outright. The sentence is not easy to speak, it carries the weight of many histories. But in the way he watches you honor your time, in the way he studies your yes and your no, in the way he notices how you revert or rise under pressure, he is listening for this music. He is asking whether you belong to your soul. The man shaped for you will not confuse that belonging with arrogance. He will praise it as the rarest fragrance in a world of imitation perfumes. You are free to walk away from any story that costs your dignity. You are free to stay where alignment is real even when silence slows the moment. You are free to trust that your life is not waiting on a text, a call, a nod, or a bow. Your life is here. Your belonging is here. Desire is a teacher, it is not a tyrant. The moment you release the need for someone else to anoint your worth, worth pours back into the bones as if from a spring that was only waiting for your permission to flow. Let the silence be a study in discernment. Let it be the doorway back into your own interior palace. Light the lamps there. Tend your altars: work, friendship, health, service, laughter. Look outward with clear eyes and an open heart, but keep the key to your kingdom in your own hand. When love comes to your gate, fling it wide for what is worthy and keep it closed for what is not. Saints and fools are not the only options. Queens exist.